guys, back out in the shop today, and we've come full circle with the projects. We've got the 69 Mercedes 280 SL back in on the lift, and for this phase of the project we're going to be replacing the tail light panel here, the bottom half of it, where it's rusted out over here. You can see that pretty bad there, and there's probably going to be some damage on the inner panel too. The rest of it's in pretty good shape, but being as it's a factory original panel that I was able to get for it, we're going to go ahead and replace the whole thing. So I want to get this panel put in first before I go ahead and do this side piece, which will be the next piece that we put in while I've got the car back up on the lift and doing some work to it, because I want to make sure that my panels meet up good here at the factory seam. So when I put the new panel in up against the original side panel, I know it'll be in the right place, and then when I put the replacement side piece in here, I have my my tail light panel as a guide to make sure it goes in the right place. So that's where we're going to go on this one here this time. Going to get these couple panels replaced, fix whatever rust we've got under here, and then we'll continue on this side and get that fixed and keep working forwards on the car and get everything, just keep moving forwards with this one. So what I've done here, I took my new panel and I laid it up over top of this one to get it as close as I could, and I just drew a mark, a line with a Sharpie along here, so I knew an approximation of where the panel was going to lay. Now, being as I'm going to do this panel, install it with a flange joint, I need the new panel to be able to slip underneath it here, so I needed a lip left of the original panel. And that's why I cut down about a ½ inch or so, just to get me some room to get this old panel out of the way. And then I'll flange my new panel along the top edge. I'll make a flange along the top edge here so it'll slip underneath of it, and then I can weld it along the mating point. Also had some spot welds here that I drilled out, and that allowed this to pull free from here. I've got the sides cut back enough to remove it so I can get at the spot welds that are along the mating point of the quarter panels and the rear tail panel. So all I have left to do now is find my weld points along the bottom edge of the outer panel to the inner panel, get those ground down and separated, and then this panel can be removed. We got the panel removed. Only thing left to take off are these short sections here where it meets the quarter panel. And as you can see, the inner piece has some rot to it, and this is mainly because of, in my opinion, poor design. If you look at this here, this gap on this inner panel is right behind where the wheel is. So as the wheel is throwing dirt and debris and water back, it goes through this opening and can filter back along the edge of here and fill this up until it gets packed, stays wet, and then it rusts out. So we'll see what we can do about closing up this gap once we get all the new panels in. I may just make a small piece that closes the inside of this off so that no debris can get back in here after this is finished up. But we're going to have to make some patch panels for this. They do sell this piece, but in all reality it's really not worth the effort to purchase it and just cut it up into a small section here. I can make pieces for this that will repair, if I can talk right, that will repair this section, give me a lip to weld the new panel to. And like, this is another area that you won't see unless you climb under the car and you're looking around, but we'll get it as close as we can to looking original. And the back side of these cars and the underneath has a lot of undercoating on them, so it will mask some of it over once everything's finished properly. But we'll see what we can do. It looks like the rear cross member on the frame will have to get a little bit of repair done to it also. Looks like the lip here where the inside valence piece attaches to is rusted away here. So we'll fix that too while we're in here. The other side doesn't look too bad. It's kind of odd the way this car rusted, because this side, the lower quarter isn't really that bad, except for this small area up here. But we had all this rust here. And then on this side, this lower section of the quarter panel is bad enough that I got a repair section for it to replace this whole lower quarter piece. But yet, we have no real bad rust here, just a little bit of surface rust here. And the rest of it's in good shape. Okay, I got this section cut out of the inner rear valence panel. And what I'm going to do is, this is where sometimes a little bit of imagination has to come into play, because as you can see, there's a lot of metal missing here. But I've got the overall length. I'm going to use this section as a template to get a piece cut out of some sheet stock I have, and I'll have to add, I'll measure this small piece here and add that much length to it. And then I've got to make a couple of breaks in it, one at the bottom, and there's a slight break right here. It's maybe about a 2 or 3 degrees of a bend in that I have to put in there, and then put this bend in it, and that'll be for the that'll be where the outer piece attaches on the bottom, and that'll allow everything to be welded up solid again. So I'm going to get this piece made first, and then I'm going to tackle the corner piece, because this one's going to be a little bit more involved, being as it's kind of curved and it's got angles in it and whatnot. So do the easy part first, get it set in, then I'll attack this one and get that piece made. Once all that's in, I'll clean up this whole back piece, apply some primer to it to protect it, and then I can start fitting my new panel that's got to go on, and that'll leave us closer to getting that installed. I got some rust fixed on the lip for this. I believe this is the inside of the rear cross member. It's where the rear pan, the rear inner lower pan attaches to. This car's got too many different sections to it. Anyhow, I had to fix a little section here, add back on there. I've got my patch piece made. I got my angles put in it. A slight angle. It actually lines up really nice. It fits in here pretty good. Angles look about right. And I went ahead and drew a line on it. I've got to drill some holes in here so I can do some plug welds. So we'll get this put in here, and then I'll go ahead and start fabricating the corner piece. I've got my ends cleaned up where it meets the quarter panels, and then we'll start trial fitting the lower panel. I'll have to trim some of this up here and get it to where it's going to fit in the flange I put in the new panel. On the sides here, we're probably going to cut it back and do a butt weld on the edge here. Alright, I jumped ahead a little bit. There was some fabricating work I had to do, grinding welds and whatnot, and stuff you've seen me do before. So I got this panel on, got it fit up really nice. I remarked where my edge is on the original panel here. And I think what I'm going to do, because I want to do a lap joint on the majority of this panel, I am going to cut it from here around the corner, just because to get my flanging tool in here is going to distort this panel. So this small section here and on the other side we'll do as a butt weld, and the remainder of this will be a lap joint where this will slip underneath the original tail panel, and then I'll do a continuous weld all the way across to make it nice and solid. But we really got some nice panels here from Bud's Bends out of Georgia. These fit up really nice. All my bumper bolt holes line up good, so I know it's centered and I know it's where it needs to be. And we'll pop this off and we'll take a look at what you had to do underneath. So I made this corner piece, and again, I said earlier when I started making these patch panels that some imagination had to come into play here, because there was nothing here. There was nothing here. So I really wasn't sure of the shape of this piece, the corner piece. This from here over was pretty straightforward. It was just a, flat piece, get a couple breaks in it, make it match up, good to go. But this piece, I really wasn't sure exactly, other than the contour here, because I still had this upper section left, of what this here looked like. I couldn't make a mirror image off the other side because it's not the same. That's where the exhaust outlet is. So it's got a relief where the tailpipe comes out. So I made a piece up. I've had to massage it a little bit to get clearance up against the inside of the taillight panel, and I have to do a little bit more massaging here just to make it, a little less, I'm going to make it a little nicer, and then weld up a slice I had to put in it, get everything finished up there. I'll go ahead and clean up my back panel, get some primer set on it, and then I'll put my flange in the taillight panel. And we'll be ready to put this, I'll have to trim this up just a hair, and we'll be ready to put this in and get this panel put on, and then we'll move on to the other side and get the quarter extension done. Well, the battery died when I was getting ready to start cleaning up this rear cross member piece here, but I got all the surface rust cleaned off that remained on there, and I got the welds all ground down for my patches that I put in along here. And I went ahead and I did some weld through primer where I've got to weld at, which will be here in between the bumper bolts and along the bottom edge where it connects there. So this piece here is ready to accept the new panel. I've got the original panel trimmed down so that the new piece will slip behind it, and I can do a lap weld here, and then I'll do a butt weld along my corners, and then on the quarter panel here I'll just do my plug welds where I drilled the spot welds out originally. The other side won't get welded just yet because this part of the quarter panel I have a new patch panel for, so that's going to get replaced, and I won't need to weld the tail panel to this. So the tail panel's ready. I got my flange put in along here, step that down so it'll slip under there and give me a nice weld. I've got my holes popped in along the bottom edge so I can do my plug welds. I just need to drill some holes along in here where it originally was welded at on both sides. And this panel here is ready to go in. So I'll put the camera back on time lapse and you can watch the installation. Well, we're at the end of this video and we've got the tail panel installed, all welded in, welds grounded down. As you can see, everything came out pretty nice. I have to say one thing, these panels, at least this one and the trunk that I've done so far on this car, have probably been the best fitting panels that I've ever installed. I don't know if these are coming directly from Mercedes or if they're just if they use the old Mercedes dies to make these panels with, but the fit on these panels is the best I've ever done. I mean, this thing just dropped right where it was supposed to go, and the finish on this is going to be really nice. This worked out really good. I just need a real slight skim coat of some filler, body filler on here to fill the seam up a little bit. And the rest of this over here where we did the butt weld came out really good. Just got to work that a little bit before on the final bodywork end of it. This side about the same thing. It's good. I can see here we've had a little bit of prior rust damage that had some filler in it, which this area here really doesn't need to have any filler put in it. It doesn't need to be smooth. The tail light covers all this. So we're going to remove all of this and just clean it up really good and just paint it really nice and seal it up good. So that'll bring this video to the end. I had to do this one all by myself. My little helper was away this week at the beach, so he wasn't here to help me out on one of his favorite cars to play in, this 69 Mercedes 280. But he'll be back next week, and next week we're going to start on the quarter panel patch that we got to do over here, and we'll get this installed, and that'll be a wrap on some work on this car for a few weeks. We're going to move on to some other projects after that. So again, thanks everyone for following along with the installation. I know it's getting to be a little bit repetitive, just doing a lot of metal repair, but that's what I've got going on in the shop right now. I've got a couple things coming up on the Chevelle. I've got to do some wiring, so I'll probably do the wiring on that car next. And I'm going to get out one of my old fenders from my Coronet, and I've got some paint work I've got to do on a car I painted last year, and it's a matte finish car, so I want to experiment and see how well the paint blends in with doing the repairs before I bring the car in. So I'm going to do a little experimentation with that, and I'll bring you along for that too. So thanks again for watching. Please continue to share these videos with everybody you can and keep the channel growing. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. I really need to get the view time up and get some subscribers on the channel. Like the videos, leave me some comments in the comments section, and I'll have something out again as soon as I can. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.